Today we celebrate the solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity, and this is one of those feast days where we really do reflect on one mystery of the Church that really truly is a mystery. And in the world of theology, a mystery isn't just like this cop-out, like when a 5 or 6-year-old comes up with a really good question that we can't answer. I know it might be a temptation to say, well, that's a mystery, just to get them to go away. That's not how a mystery works in the world of theology or in the world of a church, because in the world of the church, in the world of theology, what a mystery really is it's something that we can't fully explain because there's just too much depth to it. It's just too big for our brains to really start to comprehend. And what we find in the mysteries of the church, especially with the mystery of the Trinity, one of the things we notice is that the more we know, the more we begin to understand, the more we realize that there's a lot more that we don't get, that there's a lot more that we don't understand. And in the Western side of the church, what we've noticed is we've had this kind of tendency just to try to explain everything, try to rationalize everything, and show how everything is just insanely reasonable, which I think is something that unfortunately we've lost in recent days, really throughout the culture, because I see all over the place where there's not so much an engagement with an argument, but calling the other person names rather than just saying, well, that's a bad argument, maybe you can explain it better. We just call the other guy a dummy or something like that and move on and then go and throw another hissy fit somewhere. But that's bad, by the way, because it is good for us to try to explain things. But one of the things that I think could be really helpful for us is to just embrace the mystery. Now we know that God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Father is God, the Son is God, the Holy Spirit is God, but they're not the same. They're one God in 3 persons. Each person is of the substance of God, and as St. Augustine and others in the early days of the church explained, what makes them different from each other is the fact that, now follow me on this one, they're not the same. Yeah, okay, it's not real helpful. But St. Augustine actually said, what differentiates Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is the fact that they're not the same, but they're all God, one God in 3 persons. He said, well, that's what we can do right now, and maybe somewhere along the line, somebody smarter than myself, this was Augustine talking, will come up with a better explanation than this. That was like 1,700 years ago, and we haven't done any better. So this is what we're with. And one of the things that really hit when I was off out at Fort Hunter Liggett for the last 2 weeks out in the middle of California, and this was a bit of a rarity in the Army, I ran into a Greek Orthodox priest. And so having a Catholic priest and a Greek Orthodox priest in the same place, that is very rare. So we were kind of wondering if that was even legal, because if one of us gets hurt, we're both probably getting hurt, and the Army doesn't want that to happen. But one of the things that really hit home in talking to Father Falcone throughout the couple of weeks is that the Eastern Orthodox and the Eastern rites of the Catholic Church, the Eastern theology of Christianity, is way more comfortable with mystery than we are. They go with the explanation, they accept it, but at the same time, rather than trying to explain every little last detail of the mystery like we tend to do or we tend to want, what they do is they accept the mystery and embrace themselves into it, which I think is something that our world very much needs right now, to really embrace the mystery of the Trinity, one God in 3 persons, and just let that have an effect in our lives, to live in that mystery. Because we know that the relationships within the Blessed Trinity are charity, the love between the Father and the Son, and the Holy Spirit is something that is beyond our understanding. So in our baptism, we're actually immersed in that mystery. We're introduced into it. When we're baptized, the Blessed Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, takes up residence in our hearts, takes up residence in our souls, in the very core of our existence. We're changed and transformed and invited into the inner relationship of the persons of the Blessed Trinity. This is what prayer is really all about, that relationship with God. And I think in a lot of ways, that relationship with God, a deepening in that understanding, a deepening even in that just immersion in the mystery of God, I think would really solve a lot of problems in the world. This last week I came home from, I came in midday on Wednesday after not sleeping for like 2 or 3 days. I don't know what it was. It was a long time, surviving exclusively on caffeine. But one of the things I noticed when I came back was I really picked the wrong week to look at the news again. I mean, we've seen Israel and Iran attacking each other, which I really wish they'd quit doing that sort of thing, seeing politicians being killed, seeing a bunch of cities right now on fire with, they say mostly peaceful protests, but if you look, there's a whole ton of stuff on fire behind them, and that doesn't seem mostly peaceful to me. I mean, that's like saying that my time in Iraq was mostly peaceful, even though I almost got whacked a few times. It's not a pleasant thing. We see all this discord and all this chaos in the world, and if we contrast that to the inner life of love, charity, and peace of the Trinity, that inner life of the Blessed Trinity, what we see is a world that is largely running away from God. And I very much wish I could say that the world was just kind of drifting away, because that's a lot easier to fix, but in a lot of ways it seems like the world has really just gone full throttle into running away from God. Anytime we look at the world and see all sorts of discord and wars and fighting and destruction and death, that is a world that's running away from God. We can remedy that in our little piece of the world with that relationship within the Blessed Trinity. We can remedy that by living a life that imitates the Trinity, a life of peace, a life of charity, a life of joy, because that kind of thing is actually infectious. It's what people are looking for even when they're actively running away from the Lord Himself. Our life of prayer really is an immersion into the life of the Blessed Trinity. And I think it's always good for us to know that life of prayer, my life of prayer, your life of prayer, it's not about you or me. It's about God. It's about letting Him take over our lives. It's about letting Him guide and direct us. Our cooperation, we have to do it. Even when we're here at the Mass. And I know for about the last for a good 4 of the last 5 decades, we probably heard it's all about us. It's all about you, it's all about the community. And I just want to go out on a limb here and say that is absolute garbage. We're here at the Mass to praise, to worship, and to adore God. Every prayer that we offer, including the Mass, is Trinitarian in nature, offered to the Father, through the Son, in the Holy Spirit. Whenever we call on one member of the Blessed Trinity, it's not like when we call on the Holy Spirit, the Father and the Son are both looking at the Holy Spirit going, all right, man, you got this one. No, when we call on one member of the Trinity, all three raise up. That's the way the Trinity works. That's how their unity works. We can't separate them. Realistically, we've probably heard and we've probably been led to believe that the most charismatic person out there is the one who's bouncing off the walls, just all bubbly and happy. Not necessarily. I can guarantee the most charismatic thing you're going to do today, celebration of the Mass. The Mass is offered to the Father, through the Son, in the Holy Spirit. Drives me absolutely nuts when the Holy Spirit is reduced to an emotion. It's a divine person of the Blessed Trinity we're talking about. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, equally God. Feelings may or may not matter. A good chunk of the time they don't, because even the great saints of the Church said if you feel something or feel you got an inspiration, the best thing you can do, this is like John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, great Carmelite saints, other people like St. Ignatius of Loyola, most of the time, if you get one of these inspirations or a great insight, well, blow it off for a while. Because the enemy can very easily deceive. This is one of the dangers we fall into when we think that our lives, our spiritual lives especially, are about ourselves. It's all about God. Our prayers are offered to the Father, through the Son, in the Holy Spirit. God acts, the whole Blessed Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all rise up to answer our prayers. This is why about 30 years ago they had to redo a bunch of baptisms, actually, because there was a kind of a trend, not so much up here, and thank God we're stubborn on the range sometimes, because there was a bit of a trend to baptize in the name of the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sanctifier. That's really dumb, because first of all, it's not the formula that's given to us, but what it does is creation, Trinitarian act. The world was created by God, the Blessed Trinity, through the Son in the Holy Spirit. It's a Trinitarian act. Same with redemption. Same with sanctification. We don't want to reduce God to a number of functions. He's not a function, he's a person. It's three persons in one God. The Blessed Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit interact in charity and in peace, and their love is so immense that we human beings were created and invited to share in that relationship. So this is really what we're challenged to do, to really immerse ourselves in the mystery of the Trinity, to let the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit really affect and change and transform our lives so that we might live up to what we're called to in baptism. And if we really do that, it's something that is contagious in the good way, because the world sees that peace, that joy, that love that we try to live in, and it wants that. So our challenge really is to live up to our baptismal promises that usually somebody else made on our behalf, but to live up to what we were given in baptism, that relationship with the Blessed Trinity, and really to share that love, to share that joy, to share that peace with the world around us.